Everyone was so sure. They ranked him as a top 50 NBA player. While he was still in college, they were all lining up to offer him a brand new shoe endorsement. They thought his aura would dominate the NBA in a LeBron-esque way, and we're ready to crown him as the next all-time great in line. So, will Zion Williamson ever live up to all the hype? Let's get deep into this, but before going straight to the content, here is the brand new information on the channel is that 3 lucky winners will get a chance to win PS5. Only you have to comment your views on Zion Williamson to be the next All-Star in the comment section below. Let's start today's topic. At just 15 years old and in his sophomore year in high school, scouts were convinced Zion Williamson is going to be the best NBA prospect in years. At 15 years old, Zion posted averages of over 28 points, 10 rebounds, and nearly 3 steals and 4 blocks per game. Those are just silly numbers. But hold on, it gets better. As a junior in high school, Zion averaged 37 points, 13 rebounds, 3 steals, and 2.5 blocks per game. And it was then that Zion convinced most people he could walk into the NBA right then and there at 16 years old and dominate the NBA. Because what he was doing just wasn't fair at so many levels. Zion's junior season created the buzz around this kid that perhaps rivaled the level of acclaim and the hype that the great LeBron James got as a teenager in high school. Something special was brewing. And sort of like LeBron, Zion began generating so much hype because of his uncanny athletic ability, that in a way, we have never seen before. LeBron could leap and soar through the air, and so can Zion, but it's the way Zion does it. Someone who has a body of, say, a Draymond Green but launches into the air with even more grace than especially a younger LeBron. It was like the basketball world was being introduced to an entire different type of athlete there has ever really been. When Zion committed to Duke University in 2018, the Zion attraction grew even more so. One of the top 2 or 3 high school prospects ever was going to play for one of the most iconic D1 schools in the nation and would join forces with other top-level prospects like RJ Barrett and Cam Reddish, not to mention Coach K. And when he finally made his much-anticipated Duke debut, Zion did not disappoint. He made the transition from high school to college look as seamless as ever when he poured in 29 points against Ryerson. And he did it in all facets of the game. Penetrating and scoring off the dribble, utilizing his lethal first step, running in transition, from the post, and even from the perimeter. Zion made it look so easy. At 6'7" and at that point, around 280 or so pounds, he was so fast, quick, and explosive that the defender was pretty much at his mercy each time he had the ball ahead of steam. And if that 3-point shot began falling, yeah, I know dash scary. During his lone season as a Duke Blue Devil, the emerging Zion averaged 23 points on nearly 70% shooting from the floor. He was named a consensus All-American and took home the John Wooden Award. Even though his team lost in the Elite Eight, NBA Hall of Famer Paul Pierce made some hot remarks that sparked a ton of debate amongst NBA fans. He said Zion is already one of the 50 best players in the NBA. And whether you agree with that statement or not, that means something coming from a Hall of Famer and one of the greatest Celtics of all time in Pierce. And inevitably, it's praise like this that generates a lot of criticism and triggers backlash. I mean, it happens to every hyped prospect who hasn't even played in an actual NBA game yet. Nonetheless, Zion was the obvious prize of the 2019 NBA draft. And teams who were in contention for a top pick prepared to make any and every move they could make to have a shot at Zion. The New York Knicks were famously rumored to have a master plan in signing KD and Kyrie in free agency and then drafting Zion. Yeah, they didn't strike on any of those guys. And the New Orleans Pelicans, who were dealing with the AD trade saga, had at least one thing going for them amid all the drama: they had the best odds of landing the first overall pick. And the first overall pick is what they got a month before the draft. Now it was Zion time in New Orleans. The Pelicans embraced the "tank for Zion" method through the back half of the 2018-19 season, and it worked. They got Zion. Zion was shut down in the Summer League after a minor knee issue, but he came back and played well through a few preseason games. Before the first sign of concern with Zion's health came up, Zion suffered a partial tear in his meniscus and would have to wait for 6 to 8 weeks before his regular season NBA debut. And though the Pelicans were still very much high on their rookie, this was, without a doubt, a cause for concern. 44 games later, Zion finally made his NBA debut in January, and looked impressive. With only 5 points through 3 quarters, fans were prepared to call this game a wash and blame the rookie nerves on what looked like a not-so-flattering NBA debut. But then Zion decided to erupt, and the entire arena threatened to take the roof off with every basket he made. He got going with a 3 and then a lob finish, and then another putback and another 3, and another 3. His final 3 gave his team the lead for the first time since the first quarter. He finished with 22 points on 8 of 11 shooting on a minutes restriction in his first action in months. Zion played well and stayed relatively healthy throughout the remainder of the 19-20 season and before the pandemic-evoked hiatus that lasted 5 months. Ahead of the 2020-21 season, expectations only grew for Zion, who was ready to play his first season fully healthy and had produced an inevitable breakout campaign. And that's exactly what happened. Zion was every bit of the fortune-changing superstar in his second season that the Pelicans hoped they'd see. He averaged 27 points per game on his routinely excellent efficiency numbers, made the NBA All-Star game, and even better, stayed healthy throughout. And even though his team still wasn't playoff-bound, the Zion era was only looking to get ahead of steam. But that was the last time Zion played in an NBA game, in May of 2021. And now, just a year and a half later, we, again, wait and see just what Zion will look like when he eventually comes back. During this year and a half stretch, Zion has been sidelined. A lot has happened. Now, Zion came into the NBA pretty heavy. He was apparently in the ballpark of 280, maybe 285. But because he looked as explosive as ever and was producing, no one exactly cared. But ever since he's been out with a foot injury, critics have called out Zion for his supposed weight issues, and even more so when a pic of him in a red Jordan sweatsuit went viral on social media back in December. And then famously when Shaq joked on Inside the NBA's halftime show in a game between the Pelicans and Suns. Shaq said, "He looks like me and Chuck had a baby. Maybe funny, but ouch." And to be fair, Zion looked considerably heavier than ever before. ESPN's Dave McMenamin reported that the Pelicans changed the entire team's culinary habits just so they could help Zion improve his diet. What? Yes, really. The Pelicans grew so worried about Zion that they stopped some of the famous New Orleans cuisines just so Zion could shed some pounds. If that isn't the ultimate indirect insult, I don't know what is. Another source said that Zion probably gained north of 50 pounds in his time rehabbing from his injury and that Zion now weighs upwards of 330 pounds. Rehabbing, you say? The criticism grew and all people talk about now is if Zion can get back into some semblance of NBA shape. If you compare a photo of Zion in Duke compared to the Zion we saw in some of those viral social media posts, the difference is glaring. And yes, Zion was still heavy in college. But he looked built to leap and soar through the air. Not so much now. The fact of the matter is that Zion has battled several lower body injuries in his only 3-year-long NBA career, and adding more and more weight on top of that isn't going to make his knees and feet any healthier. He's 22 years old now and is battling all sorts of physical bumps. What will happen when he is 25, 28, 31, or 32? Zion's game is predicated on jumping and landing and putting pressure on his joints. And he can only continue to be the same explosive Zion if he, likely, stays sub 300 pounds for his career. Despite all that's going on with Zion, the Pelicans weren't hesitant to hand Zion a rookie max contract extension that will pay him more than $231 million through the 2027 season. And though his play is more than deserving of max dollars, it's his health and weight that will primarily determine how Zion progresses as a potential all-time great. All the Zion hype has ceased for now, at least. But there remains a lot to be seen moving forward with the still young, promising Zion Williamson. Nothing can derail a career quicker than poor conditioning habits. We know that. In Zion's case, he is still developing and emerging as a superstar. But if reports are true that he still weighs more than 300 pounds, sustaining a high level of play long-term just doesn't happen in the NBA at that size. Once compared to guys like LeBron as a high schooler and in college, now, ironically, has weight concerns. The complete opposite of LeBron, at least in that way. But who knows, the last time we saw Zion, he was playing like one of the best players in the world, and he could come back and look every bit like that same player again. But only time will tell. So, what do you think about Zion Williams's NBA career? Will he come back with a fit body? Do let us know in the comment section below and get a chance to win a brand new PS5. If you enjoyed watching the video, do like and share, and yes, don't forget to hit that notification bell. Thank you so much.